Welcome to the BNI Knox Podcast, helping members in the Knoxville, Tennessee region grow their business and make more money through the power of referrals. Now, here's your host, Curtis Johnston.
Hello again. My name is Curtis Johnston, your host in the BNI Knox Podcast. With me, more often than I can remember, is Andy Bressfield. How are you, Andy?
Pretty good, Curtis. What's going on?
Just finished lunch. JR over at Trademark Advertising and PR just bought us lunch. I think he did that to gain our business, which is fine.
Oh, yeah.
I'm totally cool with that.
I take bribes. Yeah.
Well, before we get started, I want to let everybody know, thank you for listening. Thank you for viewing. If you have any ideas or any feedback, we'd love to hear about it. You can email Andy at bigtreetelly.com. Andy at bigtreetelly.com. You like what you see, you don't like what you see. Actually, if you don't like what you see, send those emails to JR at Trademark Advertising. You're welcome, JR.
There you go.
So speaking of feedback, we got some feedback on one of our episodes you had mentioned.
Yeah. Cheryl White, one of our presidents of one of our chapters, had some feedback on the last episode where we were talking about follow-up.
Okay.
And presidents calling the visitors.
Right, I remember that.
And apparently I must have really driven home the idea of, presidents calling all of the visitors after the meeting, through the week as part of our follow-up process. And, I could see how that could be kind of overwhelming. Mm-hmm. It might seem like it's, hey, there's a whole lot of workload here. I'm already having all these meetings anyway, and I'm having to drive these teams, and now you want me to make all these follow-up calls too? Shara, please, if I misunderstood the content or the intent of your question there, I'm not trying to make fun of you. But I get it though, right. Isn't that part of the thing these days, that we're already under such heavy loads that, the technology that's supposed to make things easier just means that we work more?
That's true. That's very true.
We're still working long hours, and most of us are working way into the night, because we're able to work from home now.
Right.
Right. So last thing that somebody wants is some guy in a tie telling them that they need to make some more phone calls.
Well, take the tie off. Maybe it'll land easier if you weren't wearing
I don't
a
know.
tie.
There's something about this shirt that just needs a tie. It doesn't have a button-down collar.
Is that a clip-on by any chance?
No.
Okay. All right.
No. See there,
I could see that.
It's the real deal.
Rodney Dangerfield. Yeah. So the thought process there is the presidents already have enough on their plate. The idea is to delegate. So should they actually be part of the visitor host follow-up team or not?
Yeah, so this takes us to the basis, the bottom line. Why are we here in the first place? What are we doing? What's the purpose of being in BNI? What's the purpose in being on the leadership team? What's the purpose in climbing up the ladder to doing the podcast, for example?
Right. I have no idea what the purpose of this is.
Yeah, it's to make connections.
Oh, now I know.
Mm-hmm, making connections. And so when a visitor comes to visit your chapter, okay, we want to give them the ultimate visitor experience.
Correct.
But I don't want us to lose sight of why we're doing this in the first place.
Okay.
We're all coming at this from an angle that says, I have goals, dreams, and I want to meet them. And the way that I meet them is I sell my products and services, okay?
Right.
And so we approach it from giver's gain. Mm-hmm. We don't walk in the door saying, here's my business card, buy my services. No.
Correct.
We walk in the door and we say, how can I help you grow your business? And it comes back.
So
all right.
If we're on the street selling, that's how we would do it. Here's my business card, buy from me. That's not what BNI is about. BNI is about getting you to a level of trust and then being able to make connections and being able to then help other people.
Yeah, and so you become a connector, and then you're helping other people connect and do business,
Right.
And then you'll be the recipient of that as well. Now you become part of a network where people are all connected, and as business is being done, you're going to come in and be a part of that. But let's stay where the fundamental question is how do we build these relationships? So building relationships is one of the core values in BNI.
Right. And
we're talking about why have presidents make these phone calls. Okay, so as what, I don't know if I'm really making myself really clear here. You can help me out.
Sure.
What I'm trying to say is that the the purpose of BNI is to build relationships that lead to the business.
Yes, agreed.
So if we want to build the relationships, we're talking about visitor follow-up.
Right.
So then the natural thing is connecting with those visitors.
Correct.
All right. Now we're not just talking about this from a president standpoint, although the question came from why have the presidents do this more. Okay?
Right.
So the president, number one, is the most visible person in the chapter.
Yes.
And if you want to give the visitor an incredible experience, let them receive a phone call from that celebrity. Mm-hmm. The president is a celebrity of the chapter, and when they take the time to pick up the phone and say, hey, we're so glad that you were there. Did you have any questions? Now, here's the second reason that the president can call.
Okay.
And that is the president should be the ultimate closer.
Okay.
The president can say, are you going to apply for membership? Okay?
That's true.
Now, can't someone else be trained to do the closing? Absolutely. And presidents, if you delegate this and train someone to ask the closing questions, and you supervise, maybe not participate on the visitor host team, I'm totally cool with that, but I still want to ask you a question. How do you personally connect with that visitor if you don't pick up the phone and call them?
Yeah.
Why are you there in the first place? Are you too busy to take on my referrals that I have for you? Mm. If you have capacity to take on more business, and on an average week your chapter may have between 2 and 5 visitors, surely you can squeeze in a few 5 to 7 minute phone calls throughout the week.
Yeah, I see the value of the president getting to do it, and I like the way you're saying it. You're teeing it up as you can, you get to. It's not a have to or you should.
Right.
It's you get to, you know, and it's a benefit of being the president of the chapter because you are the celebrity. People do see that person speaking, especially on Zoom. You see that person speaking most of the time. When they actually call you and have the one-to-one conversation, that's epic. That's what I think is really good. It brings good value.
Absolutely, and if we put ourselves back in the visitor's shoes, okay, so think back to the first time you visited a BNI chapter.
That was 7 years old.
You were totally clueless. You didn't know anything about BNI. I'm not saying that you were clueless about everything. I'm just saying that you were clueless about
Some of us were. Some of us were. So you show up and you don't know the situation.
You don't know what's going on, and you've got this person that's called the president of the chapter, and immediately there's credibility there. You know,
right.
as a first-time visitor, you're looking at the president and you're saying, well, they've been around long enough that they've been named president. They know what's going on. They're running the meeting.
Yep.
You know, that's really cool. And then a few days later, that person calls you on the phone and says, hey, we're so glad that you visited.
Carries some weight.
Yeah. What if you're in the habit of having one-to-ones with your visitors as well? Now, this takes on a different topic maybe.
Okay.
I'm not going to try to go too far down this road, but
okay.
Some of our members have taken it upon themselves to have one-to-ones with every visitor that comes to their chapter. Mm-hmm. And when people take the time to do that and they make the investment in those visitors, they often get tons of business from those visitors.
I've heard those stories myself, and there's a number, like each visitor's worth, was it $15,000? Is that the number?
$1,500 on average.
$1,500 when they come to visit.
That a visitor will do business within the chapter, you know, to the tune of, like I said, a $1,500 average
right.
per visitor.
Right.
You know, so if you have, 3 visitors this week, there's $4,500 potential average to be spent inside the chapter.
On a tier 1 referral.
Yeah.
Yeah, on that level.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Direct.
Yeah, I like that. Mm-hmm. It's interesting. It's great when the president calls, and typically we have a visitor host follow-up team. I send it. I'm the visitor host coordinator, so I send the email on Friday. Courtney calls him on Monday. Mike texts him on Wednesday, and then Robert Alexander closes. He's our closer on Thursday. So we've got that set up. But I don't think it's just up to the team, and I don't think it's solely up to the president either. I feel like anybody in the chapter could pick up the phone.
Yeah.
Am I wrong there? Or?
No, absolutely not. What about the 24 Help me out. 24/7/30? 24/7/30. What about using that with visitors in your chapter?
Okay.
Do you remember 24/7/30?
24 hours, 7 days, 30 days.
So when you meet somebody new that you want to establish a connection with, then within 24 hours you send them a note.
Okay. Now this is opposite what you do when you're dating.
Yeah.
Okay. Just want to make sure you don't want to look too aggressive if you're dating somebody.
I don't know, man. It's been so long since I've dated. And
I've been out of that game too long.
I don't know.
Anyway, so 24 hours.
Within 24 hours, send a note.
Okay.
All right. Within 7 days, connect with them on social media.
Yes.
And then within 30 days, have a one-to-one.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you applied that to all the visitors that come into your chapter, then you're really doing well to connect and to build your network.
That's the key.
Your contact sphere, and we're not just talking databases here. We're talking about people that actually know who you are, know what you do, and have a level of trust that they might be able to refer somebody to you in the future.
I agree. And we get a lot of visitors over the years. Obviously, everybody gets visitors, and sometimes it's a category mismatch. It's the category's already filled.
Yeah.
And so typically we're like, oh, sorry about that. Mr. Plumber, you'll have to go somewhere else, or we'll find a chapter for you, or you contact another visitor host team, and then they will find a place for them. But there's no reason why we can't connect with that plumber, because maybe they're good for the home services guys, like the HVAC guy or the electrician. I still want to know who that is. So then they can run their own 24/7/30 with the individual people, knowing that they'll never really join.
We're connecting with individuals whether they join our chapter or not. BNI just gives you an excuse to meet these people.
Yes. Yeah, and again, building your contact sphere is what's important.
Yeah.
And then once you get their email address, you can market to them. You can put them in your, I was going to say Rolodex, but we don't have those anymore, do we? Database. How about you put them in your database?
Put them in your database, send them a text message occasionally.
And then just keep up with them and follow
By
through.
all means, connect with them on social media. I mean, how many people over the years have I connected with on Facebook, that are still, they're still active?
Yep.
Did
I tell you I got a visitor off of Facebook?
No.
Like straight up off of Facebook.
No.
Her name was Lucia, and Lucia is a leadership coach, and she put something on, I know of a place in Knoxville that said, I'm looking to make some connections. Does anybody know of groups or networking opportunities or whatever?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so a whole bunch of people, like I'm sure our viewers and listeners have seen, a whole bunch of people start tagging other people. Like, oh,
I think I remember that thread. Didn't somebody tag me in that thread?
I think I saw your name in there somewhere.
Yeah.
So what I've noticed is that when you tag somebody like that, and this is kind of a sidebar, but not really, but I do love rabbit trails, there is a way where you can tag people online, but then I just went right to instant message because I figured 38 people have been tagged on this post. She's not going to call all of them.
No.
So I just sent Lucia an instant message, and I said, hey, looks like you're looking to network.
Okay.
We're connected. I know of a place in Knoxville. If you're serious about networking, I can help you out. Because I've been doing it for 15 years, and I probably threw some words out there. JR is nodding at me because he knows I like to talk about myself. So I threw some verbiage out there like, hey, blah, 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 let's get together, have coffee, whatever. I sent her the link, and she came. And she came 2 weeks ago. She had a conflict this Friday, but she's coming next Friday. And that was just from keeping my eyes open on Facebook.
Yeah, and what profession is she?
She's a leadership coach.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So I think there's plenty of room for her to grow within BNI. She enjoys corporate trainings and things like that. So there'll be a benefit for her being there beyond just networking. But anyway.
Absolutely.
So I think that'll be cool.
As I'm sure you're about to tell me that it's time to wrap up. So as we do.
Right around you get long-winded is when I call it.
Yeah. So as we do, we just kind of summarize in presidents. Yes, we encourage you to call all your visitors all the time. Mm-hmm. But keep in mind why you're calling them. It's always that motivating factor that you want to establish connections with people that will pay off for the rest of your life.
There you go. Very good. Good final words, Andy.
Thank you.
Thank you, our listeners and viewers, for checking us out. If you're watching us on YouTube, please subscribe. If you're listening to us, make sure you come back, add us to your library, because there's a ton of good information that I get to pull out of Andy on a pretty regular basis. Thanks again to JR at Trademark.
Yeah, I was going to say that, trademark. Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
Trademark.
You want to just do this?
No.
I could slide over here and you could just do this.
I should have kept my mouth shut.
Anyway, JR, trademark, and PR, your business doesn't need marketing, it needs customers. Call JR. Thank you very much. We'll see you next time around.